Welcome everybody. So in this session, we're going to talk about what is Microsoft 365 platform and how to get started. And actually, we're going to focus really on the how to get started section as well. One of the reasons for that one is that the most of the people, how do we grow the community is the right way of actually saying that. How do we grow the community and how to get more people on actually using the Microsoft 365 platform is to tell new people how to get started rather than going to the 400 level with the existing people. And of course, existing people are absolutely awesome and we want to help them as well. And Yannick's session around the topics which he went just through is a good example of a more deep dive and more experienced targeted audience. So in this session, we're going to go in high level, how to get started, what are the assets which are available. We're going to talk about our community programs. We're going to talk about all of the assets and some topics related on positioning and where are we investing from a Microsoft perspective. So my name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a principal program manager. Doesn't really matter. I'm a program manager in Microsoft in the Microsoft 365 platform level, technically from an organizational perspective in Microsoft 365 and then ODSP, which is OneDrive and SharePoint, and in there in one of the branches. But I work with the Craft people, Power Platform people, Microsoft Teams platform people because of our community engagement and community work as well. So I'm kind of relatively well connected on all of the areas. So if there's random questions during my session related on some topics, I'll follow up on the chat as well. But as said, we kind of keep it relatively in a high level because my key objective for you is to make sure that you're aware of the assets on how to get started and to understand what can be built in Microsoft 365. So where to get samples and what are the starting points for starting this journey. And also what's the opportunity? Why would you actually build anything on the Microsoft 365? Because we always tend to tell that this is what you can do, but okay, why would you do that? Now, from a high level positioning perspective, just a classic slide. Obviously, the Microsoft Cloud is kind of a well designed. We always have the Microsoft Azure providing the identity security management and compliance as the lowest level. And then we go higher level on up, providing the Microsoft Power Platform. You can use that to empower the low code and no code solutions being built. And then we have the Visual Studio tooling and a GitHub for developers. And then in the top higher level, we have the Microsoft 365, LinkedIn and Microsoft Dynamics, kind of the biggest organizations in there. And in the Microsoft 365, obviously the biggest players are Microsoft Teams, SharePoint from a usage perspective, especially SharePoint and OneDrive. And then Microsoft Graph is a big important area there as well. We're going to talk about all of that in upcoming slides. But before we get there, let's briefly talk about what is actually the opportunity. And these are slides which I stole from upcoming Build 2021 session, which we're doing around the extensibility as well. But really what we need to understand is that a lot of hundreds of millions of people are actually using Microsoft 365 on a day-to-day basis. There's 145 daily active users in Microsoft Teams, and there's more than 200 million, it's actually more than that already, monthly active users in SharePoint. So it's a huge number of users who are spending most of their time actually in this Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, or Microsoft 365 platform throughout the day. So having your solution then surfaced easily in that tool, which the persons are using on a day-to-day basis, provides a lot of usage, and that's the huge opportunity. If we are comparing this to, let's say, on the classic mobile, let's say apps, and like in the iPhone or Android, it's a slightly different audience. The business users actually have money as long as we can show the value of your solution. So using the web stack tooling, you can implement widgets which are then enabling business to be more productive. And as long as we can show that we can increase the productivity of the users, then we can justify the buy-off. And all of the businesses, they absolutely still have money as long as we can increase the value or we can show the value of the solution which we are providing. Now, Before we go to the technical platform and all of that stuff, and this is kind of a classic slide which I tend to use in my discussion, trying to explain the different options and different scenarios and different usage models. And of course, this is not a black and white discussion, but this is high-level positioning on which tool and which platform is designed for what usage. And again, there are overlaps, and it's not really yes or no discussion. But typically, if you're an existing ISV and you already have an existing website as a SaaS service, so something what you build in Azure, which you're offering as a URL, let's say www.contoso.com, where you have some sort of a HR system, then the easiest way to integrate the Microsoft 365 platform is actually to provide extensibility to Microsoft Teams directly to integrate your solution. So you'll use the Microsoft Teams, create a Microsoft Teams solution, you use the bots and messaging extensions and meeting applications to actually inject your services directly where the people are actually working. And that's kind of the typical Microsoft Teams platform scenario. Now, if you are a system integrator, and then a lot of system integrators who are building solutions as a consultants for the customers and building one-off components or widgets or solving business requirements, and then potentially that same requirements is going to be used, or business widgets is going to be used in SharePoint or in Microsoft Teams at the same time, then the obvious solution is SharePoint Framework. Even though it has the term SharePoint in it, it's actually targeted for Microsoft Teams extensibility as well. And you're using a web stack development tooling, so you don't actually have to understand what is SharePoint as such. You're just hitting a graph APIs for accessing the information. You're using the React TypeScript for the development experiences as with any web stack tooling. Now, if you are a end user driven, or if you are a in-house, let's say, coordinator, or your objective is to use the Microsoft Teams for collaboration, but you'd like to expose the corporate news and communications for employees easily, well, the obvious option is then Microsoft Viva Connections for that. So using the Microsoft Viva capabilities for surfacing directly the news and corporate communication information directly in the Microsoft Teams in the context, again, of the tool where we're working on. And then the final piece is kind of where the Power Platform is being more positioned, is that if we have a great team for citizen developers who would like to provide HR solutions for addressing specific business needs, so basically designing capabilities on that tenant for people to be more successful, that's where the Power Platform really shines. Now, high-level picture and high-level positioning of all of the different areas, but it's not really black and white. So because, of course, Power Platform is more and more also pro platform tooling. So it's not really that if you would be a core developer, you wouldn't be interested on Power Platform. Not at all. All of this is overlapping between each other. So it's not really black and white from that perspective that you need to choose one and you're not going to do another one. Also, even though you would be implementing Microsoft Teams or creating or targeting Microsoft Viva Connections, you are actually going to use SharePoint Framework. And then in the Viva Connections, you can actually use Power Platform inside of it, which can then integrate to a bot. So there's multiple dimensions on mix and matching what's available. But in the overall bigger scheme right now, and also in the future for Microsoft, at least in the short few years out forward, the Microsoft Teams is really the way and the model where we're investing, and every single product, Power Platform, SharePoint, Teams, is targeting Microsoft Teams as the future way of working. And basically the platform is being designed in a way that you can access the application and information directly in the Microsoft Teams. Now, is that what the customers want, or is this already massive high demand for this kind of extensibility? Not necessarily, but it's the future bet from the Microsoft side around the thinking that we want to make sure that applications can easily integrate directly in Microsoft Teams, because most of us are spending the whole day anyway in the Microsoft Teams. So surfacing those applications directly in the meetings, increasing the productivity of the users by surfacing business application data directly as a personal application is really the objective in here. Now, and what kind of tooling do we then use behind the scenes? Well, that depends. There's multiple preferences on that. From a Microsoft Teams platform technology perspective, I think some of you are highly aware of this already, but there's meeting extensions, meeting Message extensions, there's bots, connectors, webhooks, text modules, tabs, and personal applications. So there's multiple ways of extending the themes. All of that is being actually exposed by Fluent UI, and we basically are providing you a set of your Fluent UI controls. We're going to talk about those slightly later in the presentation as well, to make your look and feel of your application to look aligned with how SharePoint and Microsoft in general is building experiences. And then how do you build and what do you use for building? Well, that depends. You can use SharePoint as SharePoint framework. You can use the Power Platform. You can use Pod framework directly. You always typically use TypeScript and React or Angular or whatever web technology is for building things. Adaptive Card is a big role or has a big role in this platform. And of course, you're accessing the data using the Microsoft Graph, which is the only or the recommended way of accessing all of the information in Microsoft 365. And sooner or later, all of our APIs will be in Microsoft Graph, which is a good thing. Now, from a future positioning perspective, one of the things is that we've been telling this Teams platform story for quite a long time. And we kind of have, from a Microsoft perspective, we always talked about products. And that isn't really how the real world approaching the capabilities. So that's one of the reasons why we then introduced the Microsoft Viva, which is more approaching our platform from a functionality and business solution perspective. So basically providing a layer which is then using all of the goodies of the platform like Microsoft Graph and bots and Microsoft Teams and the SharePoint behind the scenes and all of that stuff, but then really concentrating on the business application, business solution, rather than saying, here's Microsoft Teams, have fun with that. No. Let's try to solve a business scenario. Like let's try to use the Viva Connections is targeted for corporate communications directly in the Microsoft Teams. The Viva Insights is then for having productivity, more insights on the productivity and well-being, and Viva Topics, more automated knowledge management, and then the learning as the fourth one as well. And of course, this is just the start. We're looking into having additional Microsoft Viva modules in the future. That's something which we're talking about pretty openly. What's also cool about the Microsoft Viva, especially from a person who comes from a SharePoint framework background perspective, is that Microsoft Viva Connections and Microsoft Viva Topics are both being extensible by using SharePoint framework. So the Viva Topics and Connections surfaced in the Microsoft Teams are being then extensible by SharePoint framework. So you can actually design how they look, what are the functionalities in them. You can change whatever functionality is there. You can use out-of-the-box functionalities, or you can introduce additional components as a custom components. And of course, we use Microsoft Graph, and there's a third-party integration options. For Viva Learning and Viva Insights, those extensibility options are slightly different. So even though this slide is actually from a video from this week, it's slightly wrong actually, because SharePoint Framework is only for Viva Topics and Connections, not for the whole Viva. But it's a marketing message which was provided this week or earlier this week. From a positioning perspective, we've probably seen, if you participated in some of the meetings earlier today or the sessions earlier today about the Microsoft Viva Connections, and that's really the gateway for the modern employee experiences. So making it easy to access the corporate services and corporate information directly again in the Microsoft Teams. So we as a Microsoft, we are heavily investing on building additional integrations and solutions on top of the Teams platform as well. So we're no longer just telling you that, hey, we have this Microsoft Teams thingy, build stuff on it. No. We are actually by ourselves now starting to focus on building turnkey solutions on top of that platform as well, which then actually shows the commitment from our side on the Microsoft Teams platform. It's kind of cool thing. It's not intended to compete against a partner ecosystem. It's potentially speeding up innovation over there, but it's also showing what's possible. And especially with the Viva Connection, it's really, really important to see. And let's see if we can actually get the video moving. And I will actually do that and click that one. Everything in this video, what we can see, a quick run through of the Microsoft Viva connection is extensible. So we haven't done a really good job of explaining that necessarily in external communications. We'll focus that more in upcoming build conference. But every single bits and piece, what you see here, everything in this dashboard on the right side is extensible and modified, and you can actually decide what are those cards and what are those tasks and components which we expose for the end users. And what's really, really cool about the Viva Connections is also this mobile experience, which is something we'll talk about more in the Microsoft Teams within 2 weeks. But technically, you can design and implement custom components for the Viva Connection mobile experience. And we'll start a preview programs and all of that and additional information starting from 25th of June. So it's 25th of May actually is the build. So I can't go to too much detail there right now, but everything in the Viva is customizable. So it's a huge partner opportunity to actually start offering not necessarily Viva connections, but your designs and your experiences in a different set of configurations on the Viva Connections. Because technically Viva Connections is just personalized, personal application, and which is surfacing the Microsoft, so the SharePoint portal, where you can then define what are those web parts, what are those experiences. And technically, there can be multiple Viva Connections applications being installed in a single tech customer. And that provides additional flexibility. So you can start designing solutions which are based on kind of the modern pages experiences in SharePoint, if you prefer to do so. Good. Am I stuck on a loop? Let me actually jump in here. Now, before we I don't want to spend too much time on the high level on that side. Let's actually go back on slightly on the platform side of the discussions and make sure that you are up to date on all of the different assets which are available to get started on building your own applications. So something which hasn't actually got too much let's say, external visibility, but is super, super crucial is the Microsoft Teams UI kit. Now, we are improving this all the time. So there's the new versions coming all the time of the controls, new controls available and all of that. But the intention of this one is that we as a Microsoft will give you a set of reusable controls, which you can use in your application. It doesn't matter if they're SharePoint Framework applications, if they're SaaS applications, to make your application look like Microsoft Teams experience. So it basically provides the same consistent look and feel, the fluent UI experience, easily for you to take advantage. And let's have a look on some of the assets around the Microsoft Teams UX toolkit. So I'm going to actually jump in here. So in the Teams documentation, it's really well hidden, unfortunately, is our design your application. But in here, there's few super critical elements here which people are not necessarily aware, because we talked about this one with a lot of the MVPs pretty recently, and most of the MVPs were not, unfortunately, aware of these controls. But this is a location where we basically call out the different tools and samples. If we scroll down, we can actually see those individual controls which are available for you to take advantage. So basically, you can easily make your application look like, let's say, a dashboard or data visualization, or we can come up with a wizard-based UX, and you can then embed whatever is your solution inside of that wizard. But we as a Microsoft, we want to provide you a set of controls to make your application look like that is designed for Microsoft Teams. And what's really cool about this stuff is that there's multiple kind of assets which we're bringing as part of this. So one of them being the Figma files. So if you are more a designer, we'll give you a Figma file, so which you can use to design your application using the Figma, which is the designer's current hot platform to design anything. The other thing which is really, really cool is the UI library, which is basically a set of reusable controls. And I know that we are providing huge amount of reusable controls from Microsoft, but this is really targeted for Microsoft Teams as such. And we actually have this playground where you can go and have a look on what are we actually providing. So as an example, there's the dashboard, which is then giving you the flexibility of having a different kind of dashboard available, showing you how you can then pop up things, how you can actually design your UX if it matches the dashboard look and feel. There's the list control, which is providing the experience is how it should be shown. There's the form controls, there's the dashboards, which are basically giving flexibility then on moving things across, but you can design what's inside of the dashboard. And then whenever I click one of these, what's going to happen with that? We could do a pop-up and then we access the business data and we do something else. But the basic skeleton of the application can be relatively easily done by using all of these wizards which are available and wizards and controls which we provide from a Microsoft side. And that's really the intention. We are going to focus more and more on this side as well, and providing updated controls and also new controls for the functionality. So simple examples, just the toolbar, but having a toolbar which aligns with the Microsoft Teams toolbar and what we are expecting the toolbars to have from a find or from a menu perspective in the Windows is actually pretty critical. So making sure that it is consistent look and feel designed to be used in the Microsoft Teams. That's really what the Microsoft Teams UI toolkit is all about. And quickly, I'm going to go one step back. For those who are interested, it's AKMS Teams UI kit, where you can actually find the reusable assets and to get started. Now, the other thing, if you're not really yet familiar of, okay, so that's kind of cool, but I'm not kind of sure where to start. I'm not sure what are all of the different extensibility points in the Microsoft Teams or in general in Microsoft 365. So is there an easy way for me to understand what's possible and then go to the documents? Because again, if we go to the documents, there's a massive amount of docs, and Yannick rightfully called out that not all of the documents are quite up to date, and there's information which is not necessarily accurate in the documents, and you might feel overwhelmed on starting to read the documents. So is there an easier way to understand what's possible so that I can focus on that thing which is really interesting for me? And that's where our Microsoft 365 Extensibility Lookbook is really designed to be used. And I'm going to show this one in practice, but before I go there, it's AKMS M365 Extensibility is the URL for this one, and it's hosted in the adaption.microsoft.com. And so let me actually go back in here. And in here, we can see that we are in adaption.microsoft.com. And when I'm actually in the Microsoft Adaption site, we can actually find this from, I think I'm in the right location, solutions. Yes, there we go. So from the menu, so I can select solutions and then extensibility lookbook. And this is really designed to be then showcasing what's possible within Microsoft 365. So by default, we'll of course show the Microsoft Teams as the default view, and in here, then you can actually have a look on. Okay, so these are the extensibility points. We'll extend this based on the new extensibility options in the product. But just as well, if you're more looking into Power Automate, it's going to call out all of the different Power Automate extensibility options or Power Apps extensibility options. And we're looking into again, updating this as we move along. Now, the cool thing here is that it doesn't, of course, just end on listing the options. I can actually go to the Apps to the Teams meeting. I can then read about what that functionality is all about. We can find all of the linked videos and pictures related on it. So I can actually have a look on, okay, so this is, oh, that's really cool. So I can actually do left side, right side menus, things. Oh, and there's a nice demo video available, and there's another video available. So I can actually directly find the relevant information around that extensibility option from this portal. And then if I'm interested, and I'm more interested on finding additional information around it, then we can actually go to the docs. So making it easier for you. So like in this case, we're linking the Apps to Teams meetings, and then hopefully the documentation is adding additional value there. Well, that's what the documentation is designed for. But basic idea, like I said, is really to talk about the different solutions that you can build, and then link for samples, making it easier for you to find the relevant sample for that particular scenario. Now, what's even cooler in the extensibility lookbook is that we work together with our, let's say, design people who have come up with these scenarios, and these are worth of code. So if you are an ISV looking into, I would like to implement something new and cool for the banking and financial services, and I would need to get some innovation or some ideas, you can actually go to here. You can have a look on, for example, let's say, what would be a good example? Cross-industry employee check-ins. Well, that's a good example. It's a scenario which is being explained through slides and pictures, what can be done in the Microsoft Teams. But if you do prefer, and if you want to, you can absolutely download this scenario also as a PowerPoint presentation. And there it's coming. And I'm going to actually open it up because it's actually really, really cool stuff to understand what these PowerPoints are having. So this is team inside of Microsoft, which is designed and tasked to think what would be possible if there's no limits on the resource. Well, not limits. If we are building solutions for Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365 platform. So as an example, for the cross-industry, this presentation contains employee checking, meeting manager, employee onboarding. And I'm not saying that you should be implementing exactly this scenario, but there's a lot of insights and thinking which might be useful to drive innovation for your solutions inside of this story. So these are storylines and scenarios and business scenarios explaining how it could be implemented, how it's designed to work, how it could work in real world. And then for some of these applications and designs and scenarios, we actually created application templates, which are also available from GitHub. But I think from a, let's say, vision and idea perspective, just having access on these PowerPoints and having access on the scenarios is really, really, really powerful, because every single ISV and partner we talked about this one have been like blown away on the amount of ideas they can actually draw from these presentations. So hopefully you'll find that interesting as well. And that was basically from the extensibility lookbook gallery. And then focusing on, focusing on the scenario section in here. And right now we have 5 different industries basically here listed for getting some ideas, but there's additional industries intended to be published here. And then for all of this, it's all about getting ideas on, okay, so that's a cool idea. What if I would take that one and adjust that to my business scenario, and voila, then we have the killer application and you'll make millions, hopefully. That's really the thinking behind of that. Cool. The other area which I wanted to touch briefly as well is our sample galleries. So it's really, really, really the easiest way to build anything in the Microsoft 365 is to have a look on, do we have an existing sample already available for it? We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of samples built by Microsoft and community, and we're trying to surface them all from a centralized sample galleries. Now, we are looking into actually combining this to a one unified Microsoft 365 sample gallery as well, which I'm going to show you first time ever today as a preview. But before we go there, let's have a look on all of this as separate ones. But right now we have Microsoft Teams targeted samples, which is basically samples from the community and from Microsoft in one single location. And you can find bot samples or tabs, personal application, all of that. SharePoint framework samples, there's hundreds and hundreds of them contributed by the community or Microsoft employees, and you can find what's relevant for you, pull it down, starting point, adjust that to your business scenario, and you're good to go. A really, really new one is the Power Platform samples. And this is something which is, well, I think we published this 2 weeks ago or last week, and then list formatting it has been available for a while as well. Funny enough, though, the list formatting is the most popular one. List formatting samples by far the most accessed and most viewed across the Microsoft 365 platform. But let's have a quick look on what do we actually have available around those. So as an example for Microsoft Teams development samples, we can easily find samples based on a feature, based on the implementation. The look and feel of these galleries are slightly adjusting and evolving. So this one is still using the older version, but we can easily find, for example, a bot samples which are available, and I can filter down different scenarios and how it has been implemented, or I can filter down on which language the implementation has been done. Has it been done using Power Apps or a TypeScript? And then I can find the samples available. Or I can filter down, is the sample coming from the community? Is it a Microsoft Teams or coming from Microsoft Teams, or is it an app template? which is available, or is it coming from the community side of the house, or is it coming from bot builder community? So I can easily find again those samples. And of course, the sample itself is still in GitHub, so you can access the information, you can access the latest guidance from GitHub. Well, that was a bad example. Let me get in here. And let's go in here. Let's go as an example, simple example. Now that looked really well. Here we go. So that's a good one from Sebastian Levert, tab activity fields. And the scenarios, of course, still in GitHub and surface from there. So you can download it. Everything is MIT licensed, so you can use it any way you want. Now, same applies for SPFX. So a lot of SharePoint Framework examples, there's hundreds and hundreds of them. SharePoint Framework is by far the most widely used extensibility platform in the Microsoft 365. So we have tens of millions of users every single month using custom SPFX components in Microsoft 365. Same for extensions. Power Platform is the new thing. We can filter down on Power App samples coming from April Dunham, Michael Roth, Louis Fries, and all of that. So we're surfacing them in here. And then the list formatting examples are available as well. So there's plenty of them available. We are just working on an updated version of this gallery. But on top of that, we're also looking into building an unified Microsoft 365 sample gallery, because it feels wrong that you need to know where you're going to find the sample. Wouldn't it be cool in the same way as with the extensibility lookbook? You'll just go to Microsoft Adaption, and then you go Solutions, and then you click Sample Gallery, and voila, we have a unified sample gallery available, which you can go and filter down on the application in the different categories, in the different filters. This is still a mock-up or a preview version, so we're still working on many of the things, but it's already working. And the cool thing about this one is that you can actually then not only access the individual sample, but you can also have a look on, for example, Hugo Bernier has created some of the samples. So let's actually click Hugo, and we can actually see information around Hugo from Hugo's GitHub profile, and all of the samples which Hugo has actually contributed to be available for the community. So these are samples basically being listed in the centralized sample gallery. So main idea here is that you don't have to remember where on earth GitHub the sample is available. Where is that code? I just can't remember that. You can go to a one polished portal, you can go to the front page, and you can easily find the sample by using something like adaptive. Let's see if it's working. Yep, it works. Ooh. So I can see the adaptive cart. I'm looking for adaptive cart sample. Okay, so that kind of adaptive cart sample, that looks cool. Adaptive cart host. That's really cool. So that's working like that one. This seems exactly what I'm looking for. So let me actually download that from GitHub, and then we jump to the GitHub. So rather than going through endless amount of repositories and organizations in GitHub and folders and trying to find what's relevant for you, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to find what's relevant for you. Hopefully you'll find that one actually super interesting in the future. Cool. Oh, I didn't actually. Now I'm seeing the latest comments, so I can see Chris and Lois in the call as well. Now, let's few more slides. I wanted to actually call out a few things. So first of all, if you're looking into getting started in general in Microsoft 365, please take advantage of our Sharing is Caring initiative, which is really helping you to get started on consuming samples or contributing in documentation or consuming the reference, tooling what we have available, or the latest one was helping you to actually do blocking in the tech community platform. So making sure that you will get more visibility, potentially to, for example, get an MVP status with Microsoft and so on. So Sharing is Caring initiative is really here to help you to succeed in your career and helping you to know those things. So it's a really safe place to go and ask questions. There's experienced MVPs helping on those questions, and there's even a buddy system where if you don't feel comfortable enough doing community demos yet, you can actually partner with a experienced MVP, and then you can do the presentation together. Or the MVP we can help you to do the presentation, and you'll do the presentation. But all of this is here to help you to succeed within your career from our side. So hopefully, please do take advantage of this one as well. Something what I touched already is the new Microsoft 365 PMP community. Really an awesome location also to find what's relevant and latest in the Microsoft 365. And this is because, for example, all of our community calls and everything else goes to this location. So we as a Microsoft, we are using the Microsoft 365 PMP blog and the Microsoft 365 PMP community as the primary location to publish our Office add-in community calls, Microsoft Craft community calls, all of the recordings, all of this stuff together with your articles. So as an example, this has been really, really successful combination. So combining the Microsoft and MVPs doing publishing at the same location. I can't remember which article it was, but Yannick Riekmans, because he was presenting right before me, one of his articles is actually in the top 10 most viewed tech community articles in the world right now within the past month, which is a great, great, great achievement. And this is something which we want to also use for community blogging. So Louise Fries, who's on a call as well, and yelling yay on the chat window, she's really the contact for getting you the opportunity of writing blog posts in this platform. Of course, if you want, you can do blogging on your own blog, but you can do cross-blogging. You can add one here, and then let's help you to drive traffic and knowledge about your blog platform or maybe your YouTube channel using this one centralized location. It's not intended, this is not intended for us to get views. This is intended for us to help you to get views and you to be successful. So rather than claiming anything from you, no. We want to be helping you to succeed within your career. That's everything. That's all we want to do in the community side of the house. And to be fair, from an engineering perspective, that's what we want to do with the docs and guidance and samples as well. Everything what we design is designed for you to take advantage of that. That's why the feedback channels and discussions like this are super, super important. Now, slightly running out of time, not a problem. I'm not super surprised. Coming back on the community and open source assets. And just to pinpoint this one out, we're more and more using this as an official Microsoft 365 community, but we have more than 600 samples available, more than 1,800 contributors within the GitHub, more than 80,000 visitors in the GitHub, more than 100,000 tenants using the open source components, and more than 4.4 million watch time minutes in the YouTube channel in the community targeted for Microsoft 365. So if you're not familiar with these assets, please take advantage of them. And the cool thing is that you can actually contribute back as well, because if you contribute back and if you actually get involved, it is seriously one of the easiest ways to get an MVP status in the future. If you're interested of getting an MVP status, you might not be. It's completely fine. You don't have to. You can consume the assets. You can submit a change. You can suggest feedback for the engineering so that we know what Microsoft needs to provide to help you to be successful in the Microsoft 365 platform. But one thing what I wanted to do in this call, even though this call was more about the getting started in Microsoft 365 rather than the community, I still want to say quickly a thank you for all of the people who've been involved in our community and contributing and helping us to be successful together, because these people who are helping other people in the community to succeed is really helping everybody, well, to be happier, hopefully, in the world, in the life as well. And a lot of the people, a lot of the MVPs and community members have been involved. Now, if you are interested in getting involved, but you're not sure where to get started, this is our community, cross-organizational community team. There's Microsoft employees, there's a non-Microsoft employees who are MVPs, like Chris Kent, who's on a call, like Louis Fries, who's on a call, to reach out and ask suggestions and mentoring or where to get started, and we are more than happy to help you to push you on the right direction in the Microsoft 365 platform or Microsoft 365 in general. Now, how do I actually get started and what was the URL on that one? Again, as M365 PMP is really the location where you'll find, I'll actually show this one still, where you'll find all of the assets on how to get started. Our community calls, you can download the invites, our guidance, links to the guidance for Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Craft, SharePoint framework, links to the tech community blog, to the YouTube, samples and solutions, and all of these assets are available from one single URL for you to take advantage, rather than again forcing you to remember multiple URLs. That's not nice. Let's have one location where you can go and then find that, okay, Microsoft Craft Forum, I can access that from here. Microsoft Teams Forum is here, and I can go and ask a question from there. It makes your life easier, but that's what it's designed for. And then one more thing before I'm actually closing, just a thing which is super valuable when you're getting started in Microsoft 365 development and platform is to take advantage of our Microsoft 365 developer program. You will get a free Microsoft 365 E5 tenant. And if you use it for developer usage, there's automatic instrumentation to detect that. It's going to renew automatically in every single 3 months. And that's really, really cool. So each E5 tenant is the highest and most expensive tenant option in Microsoft 365. And we'll give it to you for free. As long as you use it for development usage, you're building extensibility in it, you're testing things in the development side, it will renew automatically for you. And completely free, no expenses, no nothing. You don't need to give your credit card for this, no nothing. You'll just get it available, and it's going to be available at least for 3 months. But now we're closing on the hour and timing. One thing what I wanted to call out is that the build is coming in 2 weeks. So May 25th, 27th, we have the build 2021 happening. It's slightly different than again and in last year. I think we have much less on-demand videos, much less sessions, because we're trying to really focus on what's relevant rather than showing too much material for you. But there's still a lot of great speakers, a lot of great topics available in there. I'm going to talk about all of the latest and greatest across the Microsoft 365 platform and Azure as well. But as a summary from today, please do get involved, build solutions for the millions of users in Microsoft 365, and where to get started, again, is M365 PMP. Everything is available from that URL to get you started and hopefully get you succeed and successful in this journey. And if there's anything what we should have more, let us know. We're doing this for you. We're not doing this for anything else. We want to succeed on helping you to be successful. So all of the feedback, super important for us. But that's all what I'm going to do today. So pretty high level, getting started on the Microsoft 365 platform, and hopefully you're interested on investigating more and getting started on this journey. But that's all. Thanks, everybody. Cool. I'm going to stop the sharing then.
Absolutely.
And thank you for the feedback.
And I just share the slide deck for the closing notes.
Yeah, thank you, Louise, for that one. Louise Fries can still manage her inbox, so that's really good. So I think she has some tricks on handling that. So I've been too long in Microsoft, so my inbox is completely destroyed. So. But cool. We don't see that many questions. I'm going to actually stop the video as well. Maybe it's good to get back to work, and that's actually good input from Louis. Thank you. I'm actually related on that one. I'm just doing a quick monologue on that, Louis with first freeze on that one. So I actually have a really strict rules in my inbox. So everything where I'm not explicitly into list with my name goes to a completely secondary inbox, and that's the only way I can deal with incoming messages. So if I'm CC'd, it's carbon copy, and that means that it's not relevant for me. So that's how it should be. Every now and then people do put people CC'd and then ask them to help, which could be a miss. But there's only 27 hours in a day. That doesn't sound right. There's only 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. So we need to prioritize our time. Cool. I'm going to actually jump to the next meeting then. But thank you everybody for joining on this one. And please let's stay in touch. Cheers. Bye-bye.